I am going to talk about Nintendo World, Universal Studios from the perspective of a parent going to the park with children. Hi, I'm Mallory, and if you're new here, I have 3 boys. They're 5, 10, and 12, so everything is going to come from that perspective. You may not be able to get on all of the rides that you want in one day, especially if you have kids. So if you're planning on going in the summer with children and you want to make sure and ride everything and explore the new Nintendo World, then I would actually recommend to go 2 days if you're able to. This video is going to focus on general tips, but I will do a follow-up video on a more in-depth analysis of the rides coming from a mom traveling with small children, an older child, and then a preteen. And also I'll do a third video that will go into more detail about the restaurants and the hotel options. But if you want a quick recommendation for which hotel to stay at, I love the Hilton Universal Hotel, and I've stayed there many times over the years. And this last time we stayed there as well, and we got to see Nintendo World from our room window, which was amazing. And it's within walking distance of the park. We were at the park within probably 7-8 minutes. And they also have a shuttle that can drop you off right at the Universal Studios park entrance as well. The rooms are always clean, they're spacious, you feel like it's just a nice hotel to stay at. And we didn't have time for a sit-down breakfast. They do have a restaurant downstairs where you can do that, but we opted to just go to the Starbucks that is on the way to the park. So we were able to just order some coffee and pastries to consume on our walk to Universal Studios. So that was a perfect option. And if you are on a budget for this trip, just so you don't have sticker shock, this particular hotel is expensive. I would expect to pay $300 to $500 a night, especially if you're going in the summer, especially if you're going on a weekend. I picked up this guidebook and I recommend that you get it too. It has a lot of helpful hints, including what order to do what rides to maximize your day. And it also goes into detail about the rides, about the restaurants, and just that kind of area, a little bit of city walk as well. We went at the end of April and it was a little bit chilly at night, so you might want to just check the weather, but it really cooled off at night, especially in Nintendo World. It was kind of in a valley, and so there wasn't a lot of sun, especially later in the day, and so it is very chilly. So you might want to bring some sweatshirts, especially if you're going to be there open and close. That's how we roll. We like to go right at opening and pretty much shut it down. So we definitely needed sweatshirts, and those of us who didn't have them were freezing at the end of the day. I can tell you this right off the bat, if you do want to go to Nintendo World, I recommend going there right as soon as you get to the park. And they did have the option to buy an early access pass to Nintendo World that gives you access an hour before the park opens, and you can get in and explore. And this option was $20 extra per person. So for my family, that would have been an extra $100. And because we went on a weekday in April, I decided to opt out of that. But if you're going in the summer, I highly recommend that you just shell out the extra $20 per person and make sure you get that early access. And also, I didn't know this the first day, but the second day I realized that you can actually go scan your ticket, go through security, and take the escalators down, because there's 2 main levels at Universal, and the lower level is really lower. You have to take 4 very long escalators to get down to that, which takes 15 or 20 minutes. I highly recommend you do this. So 30 minutes before the park opens, just find out what time, say the park opens at 9 a.m. At 8:30, you can actually scan your ticket, go through security, go down to the escalators. So at 9 a.m., if that's when the park opens, you can get right into Nintendo World. So I highly recommend doing this. And after you get into Nintendo World, if you are interested in eating at the Toadstool Cafe, which is the brand new restaurant inside Nintendo World, it's all Nintendo themed, Mario stuff everywhere, even the food, then the only way to get a reservation is to scan the QR code once you're already inside Nintendo World, and then you can get a reservation for later in the same day. So that's what I did when we got to the park, and I barely got, I think, like a 5:45 reservation. So I highly recommend you do this if you do want to eat at the Toadstool Cafe. Would I recommend the Toadstool Cafe? Honestly, no. I thought the food was disgusting. If they would have put half the effort that they put into the atmosphere and the decorations into the food, that would have been more appreciated. But I did not care for it at all. So if you're going to eat there, again, I'm going to go into more detail in the restaurant and hotel video I'm going to do for you. But I would not go, or if your kids really want to go, just don't order the cheeseburger. I think there was a pasta option. There was a chicken option. I got the burger and it was weird. It didn't even seem like real ground beef. So I don't really know what it was, but I really didn't care for it. And my kids, like my 5-year-old, he usually eats a burger and fries, no problem, but he didn't care for the burger or the fries. They did like the little cookie. It came in a little question block box and it looked like a gold coin. So obviously they liked that part, and they do have a tiramisu that looked kind of good. But other than that, it wasn't my thing. So if your kids really want to go, maybe get them a kids meal and then you just get the tiramisu and then eat somewhere else. But it was gross. I honestly don't want to go back again unless we just went for the tiramisu. So anyway, I understand if you want to experience it once. So get down to Nintendo World, scan the QR code so you can get the reservation, and then you want to go buy the power-up bands if you are going to get power-up bands. So what are power-up bands? Basically, you can get them in a certain amount of characters, not all the characters, just some of the characters are available, and it's $40 plus tax, and you need it to do some of the mini games in Nintendo World, because they won't let you do some of the mini games if you don't have a power-up band. In order to do Mario Kart ride, you can do it without a power band, but if you want to collect points, the power-up band also unlocks, my kids are going to yell at me because I'm going to mispronounce this, amiibos, something like that on the Nintendo game. When you get home, the power-up band will unlock those on your Nintendo Switch when you get home. After you get your power-up band, then you get in line for the Mario Kart ride. That way you can scan your band on the steering wheel when you get in the ride, and then it'll keep track of your points. The least amount of wait time I saw on the Mario Kart ride when I was there was 85 minutes, which you might be thinking, oh my gosh, that's so long. But then it went up to 120, 180 minutes by like 11 a.m. So trust me when I say you want to get there, you want to get to the park right when it opens and go straight to Nintendo World, because 85 minutes is a better wait than 180 minutes. Unless, of course, you pay for the VIP or the express ticket, and then you might get a cheat, but even then they may not, because it's brand new and everybody wants to go to this ride. But I did see people doing kind of a cut line, so maybe it's just the VIPs get that. And also the power band doubles as a souvenir. I personally thought that the gift shop souvenirs were pretty lame, but we are minimalists or aspiring minimalists, and so that was my kids' souvenir as well. My husband and I did not get power-up bands, and we were able to assist the kids on some of the mini games in Nintendo World, but there were some mini games that they wouldn't let us do because we didn't purchase a power-up band. So just know that going into it. If you're getting a pass, if you're going to be there at least 2 or 3 days, then it may be worth it. When you are on the actual Mario Kart ride, you are playing for points. So it's like you're playing Mario Kart, but you're also on a ride. So it's very cool. Although I wish that the first time we went on it, that I would have just observed and taken in the ride and not tried to score points, because I did that both times and there's just so much going on. And then you put on these 3D glasses as well. You have to put on a visor and then adjust the fit, and then the glasses pop on the visor once you get on the ride. And so there's just so much going on because the ride is moving different directions, and then you see a lot of things, and then you have the whole 3D thing happening. So there's a lot going on, And I would recommend just to savor it the first time you go on the ride. Just experience the ride for what it is and don't worry about the points. After you go on the Mario Kart ride, I recommend you stay inside Nintendo World and do the key coin mini games. You only have to beat 3 out of the 4 in order to qualify for the boss battle. If the park gets really crowded inside Nintendo World, then it will be difficult to get back inside. So that's why I recommend doing that before moving on to other rides at Universal, because if that happens and you leave and you didn't do the mini games, you may not be able to get back in the same day. If the park does get that crowded, then you get a timed entry, but only if it's available. And it's also very cool to go in the higher levels. It gives you a really great view of the park so you can get some pictures, and it just really feels like you are inside the game. We did the boss battle as a family, as well as the piranha plant battle, the thwomp game in the cave we did as a family too. And they didn't ask us for wristbands on all of those games because it was kind of like a group effort, and some of them are really hard to do. If there's only 1 or 2 people, it's really hard to beat the game. So once you are finished with everything inside of Nintendo World, then I recommend going on the Transformers ride, which is right outside of Nintendo World. And my 5-year-old was super freaked out, even in the waiting area here. Universal is actually really great at making the waiting areas interesting. So that's entertaining for us, but it also means it's a little bit scary for younger children on some of the rides. My husband and I were going to do the child switch when we got to the front of the line, but my 5-year-old just really didn't even like the waiting area because you can hear the Optimus Prime voice and then some like military kind of guy saying that it's the end of the world and the robots are gonna get us. And there were various military kind of weapons around and like a robotic arm. And so my 5-year-old was just freaked out for that part. So just FYI, if you are planning on doing a child switch for that ride, you can actually just the first person go in with the kids that are going to go, wait in the line, do the ride, but before you exit the ride, ask for a child switch pass. Basically, it's a VIP. You get to the front of the line, fast pass kind of thing that you get at Disney for 2 people only. So my kids, my 2 older kids are used to being able to do rides twice, both of them, and then the other adult goes. That's what they do at Legoland. But here at Universal, they will only let 2 people do it. So then the older kids just have to take turns with who's going to get to ride the second time with the other parent. But this is good because then you don't have to bring smaller children into the waiting area where they get all freaked out and they don't have to wait in line. So one person can wait outside of the ride, and then parent number 1 comes out, gives the pass to parent number 2, you swap the kids, and you get right up to the line, and it's great. So a lot of the rides have this option. So just know that going into it, that way you don't have to be in line with the littles every time. The Transformers was probably my favorite ride in the whole park, so I highly recommend going to this one. And the line can get really long, especially later in the day, because it is more for older kids, teens, adults, and they are usually at the park later on in the day. So I recommend doing this right after. And then after this one, Jurassic World is a great option because it is a water ride, so you will get wet. So most people want to ride that when it gets warmer after lunch, but that also means that the line gets really long. So if you can do this one after Transformers, then you're golden. Just know you are going to be a little bit wet. And this one has the same child switch pass. So just go in there with the kids that want to ride it. Then you request before you leave, and this is very important because if you leave the ride out the exit, you're not going to be able to get the fast pass. So make sure you talk to an attendant before you leave. And sometimes they even give it before you get on the ride. I don't know. I don't like to step outside until I have that pass to hand off to my husband. The Mummy ride is also on the lower level, and this is a high thrill indoor roller coaster. And it has skeletons. And so if you have small kids that might be freaked out by that, I probably wouldn't recommend that you bring them on this ride. And by this time, if you are hungry, then there is a Jurassic Cafe on that lower level that is really good food. It's Costa Rican inspired, and I really recommend this restaurant. My kids and my husband and I all liked it. Now it's time to go to the upper level. So you want to take the escalators, and it's going to take 15-20 minutes to get up there, and then The Simpsons ride is the next natural choice, and this ride kind of reminds me of Emmett's Flying Adventure, if you've done that at Legoland, or Flying California, I think is what it's called at California Adventure at Disney. So it's kind of like that sort of ride, and I don't really know why it takes so long, but this ride takes forever to get on for some reason. We went kind of early in the morning and it still took forever to get on the ride. And in line with The Simpsons, there's a little bit of crude humor. There is a crazy guy with a knife that's trying to chase everybody. So just know that going into it, that small kids might be freaked out by that, even in the waiting area. And again, on this ride, you can also get a child switch pass. Actually, I think you need to pick up the child switch pass on this one before you even get on the ride. So when you're in the waiting area, ask those people for that ticket, because I almost left and didn't get it. By now, you might be a little bit tired. You want to sit down. You want some shade. So this is the perfect time to do the studio tour. It's usually a very short line and it's actually an hour long, and you get to sit on a tram in the shade and rest. However, little caveat, we went on this with our kids and my 5-year-old was terrified for certain parts of it. So just want to be transparent about that. Next up is Secret Life of Pets. And this line can get long, so you just want to check the Universal app and make sure you download the Universal app before you go. And it shows wait times, it shows the restaurants and everything. So highly recommend you download this before you get to the park. The Secret Life of Pets ride is family friendly. Even the waiting area is very cool. Not scary at all, just fun. And then the Despicable Me ride is right across the way from that one. And this one is great too. It's kind of like a 4D theater, but you are in kind of a little vehicle that kind of moves around, but it's more of just a 4D movie experience. My 5-year-old wasn't scared at all. And sometimes Gru and the Minions are outside if you want to get a picture, and they look just like the movie. After Despicable Me, it's a good time to do Waterworld. And yes, Waterworld is still there. They're still doing this show. They've been doing it forever, like 20, 30 years. I don't even know. They've been doing it a long, long time. But there's a reason that they still do it. It's a great show. It's entertaining and it's got some tricks. There's a watercraft that does some stunts, and it's very cool. And all of my kids liked it. Nobody was scared. Just know that you will get wet in certain sections on this ride, and you do want to check the show times because they only do like 3 shows, I think, a day, but maybe in the summer there's more. I'm not sure. Just check the app. There's also some well-known actors that are in the Waterworld show. When we were there, there was an actor from The Mandalorian in the show that day, and other actors in other shows. I just didn't know what the shows were. So you might be able to spot some famous people while you're there. Now it's time for the Harry Potter Village. So my family doesn't do Harry Potter. I'm not going to get into it. Some families do it, some families don't do it. Our family does not participate in Harry Potter. However, I loved this part of the park. It looks like you're in a quaint little English village in the winter. They did a fabulous job with it. And I loved the Three Broomsticks Cafe. It was delicious, and it's like you're in an English pub. Loved it. I kept hearing about butterbeer, and so we did order some butterbeer, but we only ordered 2 to share between the 5 of us, and it was more than enough, but we're not used to a lot of sugary drinks. It's kind of like a cream soda kind of thing with a lot of foam, and so it was a lot of sugar. So that was more than enough. We tried it, and yeah, I probably wouldn't order it again just because I'm not really a sugary soda kind of person, but it was nice to try it. So the rides in this part of the park, which is called Hogsmeade Village, are Harry Potter and Forbidden Secret, and it's kind of looks like a pew from like a Catholic church that you're sitting on, and it's like you're flying on a witch's broomstick kind of thing. It's more on the thrilling side. And then there's just a regular outdoor roller coaster called the Flight of Hippogriff. We loved it. It was fast, it was smooth, perfect. And there's also Ollivanders, I hope I'm saying it right, where you can make your own magic wand. And the last thing really to do is go to the Kung Fu Panda movie theater, and they have this cute short movie about Kung Fu Panda, and the theater is a 4D theater, and I actually recommend sitting in the back portion of the theater. That way you can see the full panoramic view of the movie, because I sat in both sections, and I have to say I preferred the back section. When they kind of put you in this room before you go into the movie theater, you want to be on the right side because that's where the doors open up, just so you know. And don't forget that there's also City Walk, and a lot of the things in City Walk are open past when Universal Studios closes. So don't forget to check that out, and I will go into more detail into the restaurants, into the rides, into the hotels on future videos. So hopefully this gives you some quick tips in planning your trip to Universal Studios Hollywood. If you have any content that you want to see, please put it in the box below and hit the like button if you found value from this video. Okay, I will see you next time.